cover some bottom today. Bottom is changed a lot over the years, especially since when I was here and what I learned growing up. And it's evolved mostly in college. If you watch college, most guys don't get written out. That's pretty much just let them up, because you're not going to hold them there, unless you're one of the few, like the Spencer Leagues, that kind of thing. It's different for different age groups, because the things that'll work at 8, 9, 10, they work. They do work. But when you get to high school, they work less, and when you get to college, they work even less. So, same philosophies as before is, I prefer to teach what's going to work at the highest level earliest, so that they master it quicker. You may hit road blocks and walls, so to speak, as they're learning and mastering it. But once they get it, it's going to pay off dividends tenfold through the rest of their career. So when they're 7, 8, and 9, I'll give you an example. Even we'll say pots and dams. If Amir's on top, everybody knows arm chop right down the head. It'll work. It'll flat out work at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It will, because the kids aren't like that. They're not strong. They're not as experienced. Middle school will still work for the most part, unless you find a tough kid. When you get to high school, again, not training to beat the kids that aren't really all that great, it'll still work on them. But when you want to go get through districts, you want to win that district title, you want to place in regions, those things don't work as well anymore because of what kids are doing on bottom. So on bottom, we were taught as a kid to tuck your toes on the side here, and get set, and you're going to explode up. But what's really happening is when you tuck your toes, is you're launching all of your weight heavy on your hands. You can't help it, because that's just the only direction you can go when your toes are tucked. And if you're on top, your goal off the whistle is to get as much weight on my hands as possible. Because if I have weight on my hands, I can't stand up, I really can't sit out. And so on bottom, we want the opposite. To really set them right in the beginning is to get them used to not tucking your toes, but sitting down on their toes. So you can either do it this way, if this is more comfortable for them. Everybody will have a slight different style. I sit mine to the side. But what you're really looking to get them to do is have a center of gravity. I want to have this where I don't need weight on my hands to have a solid base. Because now if he's on top, even without covering anything else, he goes to arm chop. He's like, really? I'm not going, because I'm shifting my weight left, right, against the grain. I don't have to use this. I don't have to give up wrist. And if I let weight go to my hands, and there's more touch. If I come here to my hands and he takes it out, now I'm screwed, because that is literally holding me up, because I'm no longer centered. So I need to get the kids more center gravity. So again, some kids will have more flexibility. They'll be able to put their legs out to the side. They don't have to keep them in. That's okay. Some, if you want to split it this way, that's okay too, because you're strong here. You're centered. So that's the one positioning fundamental on bottom that I think as a group we have to have the kids get as early as possible. Because the earlier that they're centered and solid here, the rest of the technique is so much easier. Stand up from friggin' here. So if the guy's job on top is to push me onto my hand, my job on bottom is to get back. I need weight off of my hand. So here's on top. Old school stand-up was inside leg comes up, you clear this arm, you come here and get to your stand-up. That works if he doesn't have any pressure. But if Amir pressures me as we go, 1, 2, 3, go, I can't get that arm over, I can't get that leg up, and that's when you're like, well, I tried it, coach. And then when you're like, why aren't you standing up? And you're like, oh, I'm trying. It's hard when the kid on top's doing the right thing. So to counter that, again, center of gravity takes the weight off of my hand. So I teach my kids to get set up. If this was the knee line, imaginary line here for the hand, set your knees up, your hands are free. Free. Legs are up. So that if they take any arm out, I'm not falling over that arm because I'm centered. So it's funny, me and him will say it too, these guys will go out there and I make them do it so that they train their mind. They go out there and they'll go like this right before. And that's how I know that they're doing it right. And when you see the next part, it'll make more sense. But getting the kids to be light on the hands. Light on the hands. Up on top. The first thing you're looking to do off bottom with light hands here is I'm going to sit back into him to get the pressure off of me instead of having my hands on my waist. So you're going to jam at the same time. Here. And this is about where you're going to get. He jammed me forward. I sat back. My head's up. My back is straight. My hips are under me. My pressure in there. So those 4 key principles that I keep hitting on, they're always there. Head up, back straight, hips in. Now, if I just stay here, he's going to run into my face. We're going to end up here. That's not what we want to do. When we do this sit back.
I don't mean to interrupt. You get your phones here, it should lower it up. For sure, I know that. That's the one like that. That's a phone call.
Maybe here?
Sure,
I appreciate it, though, for sure, thank you. Sorry. So, the goal is to get the pressure off, and I keep this leg out, and me personally, my thought process is, I'm using this leg to pivot out. And when he's on top, he can't stop it, because there's just nothing for him to do. He can keep me from getting my leg up forward because of the pressure. But even if he pressures me, get ahead, and I base out, he can't stop that leg from coming out. This is the leg I'm using to push back into him. So when I'm here, this is what I call master position on bottom. This is where I want to end up 95% of the time off the whistling. I'm comfortable here. I have an out here. I'm in better position than he is. He's holding on. I have no pressure. So when he starts pressuring in, this is when it gets real easy for, especially the younger ages, because this kid's just going to run into you, because that's where he knows what to do. He's going to push in. So ahead, he pushes in, I push back into him. I didn't need to grab a wrist. I didn't need to jeopardize any kind of hold that he's going to get to my feet. What I find is, most times, especially at the younger groups, we go for that stand up. Even if they got to this position, then they grab this wrist. And when they grab this wrist and try and stand up, he re-grabs. And now that he re-grabs, now I can't stand up. So now it runs me into my face. And now you got 30, 40 seconds of trying to get your wrist back and get to your base. Because we gave it to him. It's the number one thing that has to change, really, in South Jersey, on bottom. But I can't tell you how many parents and other coaches I've argued with on wrist control from bottom can't happen when you're on the mat. It has to happen on the way up. Do it on the mat, it's just a regrab. And I teach these guys that if you're wrestling a kid and he's being a pain in the ass to get your wrist, I would literally shape my wrist in front of him. So I always take this and just put it here. Then he takes regrab. Here's your wrist control. I didn't need to break it down. I didn't need to go through all. And kids are all too willing to grab that wrist because that's what they're trained to do. Wrist control, wrist control. But it's a false benefit. So there is a time when you grab it, but it's not when you're down here on the mat. So again, we come back on top, and you're on 3 is going to jam. 1, 2, 3. It's back. We're in master position. My head's up. This isn't good. This is dangerous. This is spread bait. You've got options here. So the idea on the drills, when I tell the kids, is you're shooting your head to the ceiling. Your elbow is throwing back to knock him off of you. And then this leg straightens out. Not like this, where you're like pissing on a fire hydrant. It straightens out. Keep it away from your knee, so you're here. Now I'm not cradle bait. Now I have my head up in a power position. This elbow slams down on top of his wrist. It's going to replace wrist control. So wrist control here, ideally, is to keep him from being able to friggin' do anything with this arm. And then I can use it to my advantage. But instead of doing that risky wrist control, I take this elbow and I slam it on this wrist and pinch. And now go ahead, push your arm through. Pull back. So I have wrist control without risking wrist control. So I'm doing it by slamming this elbow on a pinch. And now he's stuck there. He has no choice. At this point, when I know that he's stuck here, there's really no move besides a Merkle that he could throw on here to save himself. Because he can only do so much with this arm, one arm. I'm going to start coming to my feet. Now I can get to wrist control. Now I can start back pocketing and doing all the techniques that we know. But if I do that wrist control from down here, more often than not, I'm going to end up getting stuck down. So the goal for our kids is to get them so programmed to just get to their feet, get to their feet, get to their feet. Then you worry about the wrist control. There's a whole series to it. And again, tots and bantams, you're going to have to be more lenient. Like I said, when things work, kids like it because it works, so they stick with it. It's our job as coaches to, good job on the match, but that move's going to cost us eventually. We have to do it better, so on and so forth. And each year they'll get more and more progressive. But in the beginning, kids that do stuff that they like that works, let them do it. It works. The wrestling. But try and fix it as you go. And I think the most important thing at every level, top, bantam, midget, junior, all the way up into high school, senior, what's the only thing that I want you doing off the bottom? Stand up. You're going to learn how to sit out. You're going to learn how to scramble and switch. I just taught these guys a short series a couple weeks ago. There's a place for it. But master to stand up. Master getting up to your feet. Because if you're getting to your feet constantly, you're not getting turned. Eventually, that kid's either going to make a mistake, he's going to let you go, whatever the case is, it's all beneficial. My dad used to have a saying, if you wrestle on the mat, you stay on the mat. So if I roll around on the mat and do sit-outs and turn-ins and give up wrists, because most times if he's on top and I do a sit-out, I go to do a sit-out turn-in right here, he's going to come underneath and grab this wrist, and now I got to turn in, and now I'm fighting this off, and you're doing all this scrambling. And will it work sometimes? Yeah. But if you're wrestling somebody that knows what they're doing, I got news for you. I'm happy as shit for a kid to roll around on the mat. So I'm just going to lock in a wrist, lock in a wrist, lock in a wrist. It doesn't take energy. So on bottom, back pressure, always standing up. Wrist control when we get up, not down on the mat. Those are the main points. Now there's techniques to it. Stand-ups, you add knee slides, you add turn-ins, and all the extra additives. But the bottom line is, if our kids get really good at standing up, that's a free point every period. And every takedown that you give up because you made a mistake is really only worth 1 point, because there ain't nobody worth a damn that's going to hold you down. So now your confidence goes up a bit more to get into these scrambles, because I would do it, and I'd get in on a leg, and I know it's not a perfect shot. And maybe I'm in a bit of a precarious situation, but if worst case scenario I have to give up to, he ain't holding me. I'm getting up. I'm going to get my one. You really only got one out of it, and I'll go back to work. So in college right now, they're almost shying away from top and bottom and trying to get more to the feet, which really is pissing me off, because I think top and bottom are equally as important in the sport. And if you're good at it, most people aren't masters of the position. They have a couple moves they like, and if you can stop them, they cut you. So drill-wise, for the younger kids, I would do like off the whistles, and we still do it with these guys. Have everybody set up in their stance here, and then first whistle will be throw your head to the ceiling and sit back. Oh, and they come here and you get everybody doing that good, and they get that good. All right, and then the next step, once you do that, then you're going to come to your feet. You come here. Now we start attacking wrist control, and then the next step, you'll step your leg out. I'll cover that in a minute, and do it piece by piece by piece by piece. We'll get it. Then you can add the speed. You can add the drills to any part of your practice. When you get older, when you're like 10, 11, 12, you have to add to the drill. So if Mir's on top, the drill would be, he's going to jam into me, I'm going to sit back, and he's going to jam me to the point where I have to put my hands back on the mat. So 1, 2, 3, here he pushes me back down. This is where knee slides come into play. And this should start happening probably around like 10, 11, 12 areas. When I have my hands on my weight on my hands and I'm stuck here, this hand is holding up my weight. I'm going to take this knee off the mat, and I'm going to slide it all the way forward to create the space between my hips and Mir's. So I'm here, foot, hand plant, slide the knee out. Now I have all this space between us. He's got to play catch up. I'm in master position. Heads up, back straight, hips are under me. And the last part is I'm going to pressure in. As soon as I feel him pressure, take a head, feet, and that's it. at no point in there did I have to grab a wrist control on the mat.